This adventurous story begins by showing a future where everything on Earth had become extremely expensive. Oil resources were being used the most, and in Tier 1 cities, the prices had skyrocketed. Everyone was using these oil resources efficiently, but then a time came when the sun began emitting intense UV radiation onto Earth. This radiation caused all remaining resources, including oil, to be completely destroyed. Nothing was left on Earth. The planet had experienced a total blackout. Everyone believed that this was the end of Earth. But at that time, a company named Oxalysin came forward. The company took an initiative and, using its technology, developed a reactor that could supply energy to the planet for many years. Along with this, they also created special tubes that could collect the scattered ultraviolet waste and destroy it completely, because that waste was affecting the energy resources. Even governments began to trust this company. So many years passed, but Oxalysin never betrayed anyone's trust. The energy they provided was still powering everything. But soon, a disaster was going to strike. Something no one had ever imagined. Now we are introduced to Abby, an engineer who worked in different departments of that company. As Abby was waking up, she saw that the alarm system had been triggered. This alarm was coming from one of their security bases located in a desert. Abby immediately woke up David, her supportive director, and asked him about the problem. David, too, had no idea what was going on, because the crew members working there were not responding properly. If things were left like this, the base could be destroyed. The base was located right in the middle of the desert. It was the place where they used to store all the UV waste, which was highly damaging to the environment. The idea was to keep this harmful waste far from human settlements so that its effects wouldn't reach people. There, they either destroyed the waste or created byproducts from it. Abby immediately asked for detailed information about the base, because she needed to ensure that everything was still running smoothly. If something was wrong, Abby would have to go and check it herself. Due to the lack of proper information, Abby decided that she would personally visit the base and find out what the problem was. All arrangements were made, including the helicopter that would take Abby to that location. Even their helicopters were highly advanced, thanks to the powerful reactor that had been supplying immense energy. How that reactor was actually built is a mystery too, which will be revealed later. After coordinating everything, Abby sets out and eventually reaches the base. But once inside, she finds the place deserted. No one is visible. She notices that the systems seem to be malfunctioning, so she goes to check them. Her connection with the central base isn't working, so she starts recording every moment on video, planning to upload it to the system once the connection is reestablished. As Abby moves forward, calling out for the crew members, suddenly a man appears. His name is Robin, the caretaker of the facility. Robin is stunned to see Abby and just stares at her, almost as if he's never seen a woman before. Abby asks him, "What's the issue here? And why haven't you been responding to any of the messages?" Robin remains completely silent and instead takes her to the control room where the system is managed. Abby notices something wrong in the system and begins adjusting some settings on her own. But even after several minutes of trying, she isn't able to fix the session. Then Robin simply pulls a lever, and suddenly all the problems are resolved automatically. That clearly shows Robin knows more about the place than Abby does. But despite this, Abby still wants to investigate the system thoroughly. She's a systems engineer, and if anything goes wrong, she'll be the one held responsible. In fact, she's aiming for a promotion at her company, so she isn't going to let any mistake hold her back. Robin then takes her to the guest room. He's welcoming her in his own quiet way. Abby notices that Robin has built several chambers in that place. These chambers were fully protected from UV radiation, but Abby still couldn't see any of the other crew members. She questioned Robin about it, but instead of answering, Robin silently walked off to another chamber. Abby kept trying to reestablish her connection with the base center, but for now, she had to wait a while. Being inside the facility, Abby began conducting her own research to identify the fault, but it was clear to her that Robin wasn't doing his job properly. He just went into his chamber and started playing guitar, as if nothing was wrong and he had no worries at all. But for Abby, one thing was crystal clear. If the facility where energy was being generated got affected by the radioactive decay happening underground, it could lead to a massive crisis. The energy source that people were relying on could shut down, and Earth could once again return to a time when no resources were available at all. Now Abby asked Robin about someone named Dr. Jack, who was supposedly the facility's reporting officer. It was Jack who used to document all faults and issues in the facility and send reports back to the main base center. But Robin told her that Dr. Jack had gone out for some important work and would be back shortly. Robin then started praising Abby a lot, saying that before she arrived, he was completely alone. And now, with her presence, he finally felt happy and relieved. But Abby made it clear that she hadn't come here to socialize. She was here to do her job and find out what errors existed in the facility. She connected her computer to the main system, and then checked the two fans responsible for regulating the heating and gas components of the entire facility. Robin wasn't aware of these technical aspects, since he didn't handle that part of the work. He asked Abby what field she worked in. Abby replied that she worked on the reactors that provided energy all around, but in order to stabilize those reactors, they had to create a specific system. That system was located in the basement of the facility, and it contained two large propellers, which were essentially giant fans. At this moment, Robin discovered a shocking truth. The radioactive decay and waste products were all being stored in the basement of the facility. It was that very power source being used to run the propellers, which ultimately supplied power to the reactor. If even one of those propellers stopped working, the entire facility could be destroyed. That's why Abby was so focused on finding the error. Robin then mentioned some experiments that Dr. Jack had been conducting in his private chamber. No one had permission to enter that chamber, not even Robin. Abby had already checked the main systems, and the propellers didn't appear to be malfunctioning, but she still needed to find out where the unknown signals were coming from. So, she told Robin, "I need access to Dr. Jack's lab," but entry to that area was strictly prohibited. Abby started insisting. Somewhere deep down, she had begun to suspect Dr. Jack might be planning something wrong. Even Robin's behavior seemed odd, as if he was hiding something from Abby. Something that could potentially throw the entire world into darkness. Robin, meanwhile, began asking Abby many questions about how the propellers worked. Abby explained simply, "There are two propellers in the entire facility. These propellers supply all the power to the reactor by extracting energy from the radioactive decay underground. The lower propeller pushes that energy upwards to the upper propeller. Both propellers must function properly for the facility to operate safely." Abby had already checked the upper propeller, but she was still getting error signals, meaning something was definitely wrong. Robin asked how they could check the lower propeller, but Abby responded that it was located deep underground, and the protective suits they had wouldn't withstand the extreme heat in that area. "There's a high risk of radiation exposure to our bodies. We could die," she warned. But Robin then revealed that Dr. Jack had already been down there. He used to perform his experiments in that area and never allowed anyone else to enter. Abby was shocked. Jack didn't have clearance to go down there. Not even senior officials did. So how did Jack manage to access it? Even Robin didn't have a clear answer. She couldn't understand why these fluctuations were happening. Couldn't be automatic. All the propellers were working fine, which meant someone was doing it manually. And now her suspicions turned toward Dr. Jack, who still hadn't returned. Abby kept asking Robin, "When will Dr. Jack be back?" It was important to find out because all the suspicion was falling on him. If he didn't return soon, all legal action would be taken against him. She went to look outside the facility, thinking maybe Dr. Jack was still nearby. Maybe he'd gone out to get some equipment that Robin didn't know about. Now, Abby didn't believe anything Robin said. She put on a helmet and went outside on her own. She looked in every direction, trying to find Dr. Jack. After walking a little while, she finally found his body. Abby began dragging it back toward the facility. The two of them put Dr. Jack on a stretcher and began checking if he was alive. Thankfully, he still had a pulse. Abby could tell that he was exposed to a high dose of radiation, so she gave him an anti-radiation medicine, hoping he would recover soon. But Abby couldn't understand why Dr. Jack was wandering in the radioactive zone. If he really wanted to leave, he could have just gone to the city. Robin wasn't explaining much either. So, for now, Abby focused on taking care of Jack. When Abby returned to Jack, he whispered something shocking. "The real culprit is Robin. He was the one who threw me out. He's taken over the systems and wants to destroy the entire facility." Abby had her doubts before, but now she had confirmation. A few moments later, Robin arrived too. But Abby and Jack acted totally normal, pretending like they knew nothing. Still, Jack couldn't bear to watch everything fall apart, and Robin, consumed by rage, suddenly attacked. He grabbed a golf stick and went after Jack. Abby tried to protect Jack and got injured in the process, but she somehow managed to hide him in a safer spot. Abby confronted Robin. "Why are you doing this?" That's when Robin revealed the real reason. "This company is corrupt. This desert, this very land, was where my family lived. They were forced out. Their home was demolished to build this facility. They lost everything. To take revenge, Robin had deliberately gone underground and shut down the propellers one by one. Now, he planned to destroy the entire facility from the radio deck. Abby tried to stop him, but it was too late. Robin lit a flare and jumped into the core area. The chemical gases inside the facility began reacting, triggering a massive explosion. Abby realized what was coming and quickly put on her protective suit and ran outside. Thankfully, she made it out in time. But now she stood there watching the facility collapse. She knew the radiation would spread everywhere. There was no place to run. The Earth was falling into a radioactive nightmare. Realizing humanity might soon come to an end, Abby took off her suit and waited for her final breath. And that's where our story ends.